Welcome to another episode of NAC Car Culture, your home of tough muscle cars, classic cruisers and high-performance imports. Kindly brought to you by the good people at NAC Insurance, 10 Tools and Mount Shop. Coming up on this week's show, we zero in on Oberfest from Tupper Motorsport Park.
Drifting for me is just about having fun and being with your mates.
And visit Horsepower Heroes C&M Performance in Auckland.
There's cars out there making, well over 1,000 horsepower and they're doing it easy.
But first up, thanks to the crew at Mount Shop, it's time to meet this week's feature car, Andy Etchell's Rad Roo. Hybrid cars done the right way by stacking an early XY Falcon on top of a new one.
From outside you wouldn't know. Visibly it just looks like an XY Falcon, maybe just a tidy one and a bit lower. Well, it was a car that needed a lot of repair. The chassis rail was pretty much gone, so we didn't want to throw the body out, so we looked at another alternative. So we had a EL Falcon in the shop, so we measured them up for wheelbases, and we thought, oh well, this looks like it can actually happen. Looked like everything that was going to worked, and then the next stage obviously was to fill out all the low volume vehicle certification papers to see whether they'd accept what we proposed to do.
And that proposal would have taken a fair bit of reading. But here's the quick version. Andy's master plan was to graft the XY's body onto a later model EF Falcon chassis, gaining as much modern technology and convenience as he could in the process.
Well, a modern XY, still having that shape, but reliability, fuel economy. I've had fairly high horsepower cars in the past, but wanted something a bit more tamer and reliable, and you can go on a trip in and the whole family can come in it, and there's just no dramas whatsoever. I've had XWs and XYs, quite a few different ones over the years, different horsepowers and all sorts. Yeah, you get sick of the baggy old seats and the wallowing steering box, and even though you put nolathanes through them all, bushes, it tightens them up and it does make them a lot better, but still nothing like what this is now, what you've got on this with full of coil springs and Watts linkage and stuff. Disc brakes, it sits tight, it goes around corners. How they should have been made. A lot of people said I was mad. Said, nah, what a waste of time, just fix it up or leave it with as an XY original or whatever. But the people that said it to me have since gone for a ride in it, and they said, oh, we can't believe the difference. And they said, well, that was worthwhile persevering.
Of course, the conversion wasn't without its hurdles. A few cropped up around the rear guards and firewall, where the blend of old and new saw a bit of overlap. One of the key components missing from the donor chassis proved an easier fix though, and that was sourcing 5 litres worth of XR8 Sprint V8 and drivetrain.
A guy came in and said he had a XR8 Sprint running gear, which he'd stripped out of a car, and sure enough I went round and he had it all under his house, everything, the computer, limited slip diff, 5-speed gearbox, engine, drive shaft, so it was all there, so that was my running gear. So that worked out well because the XR8 Sprints back then, well, there was only 52 that came to New Zealand, and I think there's only 5 or 6 that were manuals. So to get one that was stripped out was a bit of a bonus because I wanted a manual. It doesn't matter who's taking it out, it's going to start. Don't have to pump the accelerator to get the juice through the old carb or anything like that. It's there every time. There's certainly something to be said about fuel injection. It's the way to go, really.
While shoehorning an EF chassis under an XY isn't exactly a walk in the park, come cert time, the scheme paid dividends, with the tried and true factory components of the later model Falcon ensuring smooth sailing through the red tape.
The final thing was, getting it on the road and getting it VINed and certified. That was good, and now we can enjoy it. And there's a lot of people out there that want one as well, and ideally I'd like to do it again actually for myself. Use a 2002 or 3 chassis and then put the latest FG, the 2015 XR8 engine and running gear in it. That would be the ultimate. That would be cool.
Like a whole lot more detail on Andy's Radroo? Jump onto themotorhood.com for the full rundown. Lots more still to come on NAC Car Culture. We stop by Auckland's C&M Performance later in the show, but straight up after the break, we've got grassroots drift action from Oberfest. Welcome back to NAC Car Culture. We talk horsepower at C&M Performance a bit later in the show, but first, it's time to head to Taupo for Oberfest. The forecast for Labour weekend was terrible, and yep, we sure got it early on. But those who braved the elements were soon rewarded as the torrential rain eased to occasional showers and the day's grand plan kicked into gear. The Locktober recipe? Cap numbers, max track time, and getting back to basics.
Yeah, we like to get a community together. I feel it just keeps like the family feel, keeps it real grassroots. Everyone just likes to hang out, which is also pretty good as well, you know, like some track days you go to, everyone sort of sticks to their own groups, whereas here everyone sort of mingles, everyone laughs, and yeah, no, it's good.
Drifting for me is just about having fun and being with your mates and just the whole character of drifting.
Oberfest is part of the Zero Class Drift lineup and slid its way around Taupo Motorsport Park over Labour weekend. The concept spawned from humble beginnings, a day's drifting put on for organiser Chris's 21st birthday, but proved so popular that a whole lot more circles were quickly added to the calendar from then on. While the Sunday was put aside for beginners, Saturday was set up for the more experienced drivers, who took to track 2 both in the nostalgic normal track direction as well as the current reverse D1 mode. Hitting the track was Matt Sellers in his S14 Sylvia, and brother Jason dusting off his C33 Laurel after a bit of a break.
I'm Matt Sellers, it's my 96 S14. We bought it as a written off wreck about 9 years ago. Me, the old man, and Jason decided to follow in what Jason was doing and build it up to be supposed to be a competition car. Everything apart from the wiring and the cage we did at home. We bought lots of parts, but the whole build of the car was in the garage at Mum and Dad's.
Matt's S14 still runs the original SR20DE, although it's now joined by forced induction, uprated injectors, and gets its orders from a Link G4. The result is 240 kilowatts. All good for reliability, but not so much for keeping at the front of the pack.
If you were compete in it, this car probably wouldn't be able to keep up. The setup is very, very basic. It's designed so you can drive it really easily. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of traction. To be honest, drifting here at Taupo, it didn't like me the very first day I drove my car here. I put it in the pit wall, and completely bent the car, so I had to pull it apart and straighten the chassis rails and all that sort of stuff again. Other than that, it's really fun here. Track 3 is easy. It's a real good beginner's track, and it's just cool to go and have fun with your mates. And it's nice to have Jason here today, and he'll probably chase me around all day. I won't be able to chase him, it's a little bit different.
I'm Jamie Allen. This is my C33 Laurel, 20 det, just pretty much GDR injectors, DSR 430 turbo, just the standard stuff you put on it. Made of right power, 230 at 11 PSI. probably had it a year, going on a year. First off, it had a just standard ECU and all that sort of carry on, and just standard injectors, and I was running heaps of camber in it just to get it skidding, and it was a bit of a struggle. And then come together with some money and a link and GDR injectors, and yeah, got that process on the go, and yeah, it's good to go now. 20 dead engines, you know, you can pick up a unknown one for bugger all, or you can buy a mint one from a wrecker for, you know, not a bad amount of money. So just keeps it cheap for me. It gets me out on the track, and I'm stoked, you know, getting out there amongst it with the boys and just having a great time.
While the motor was an easy call, the event gave Jamie a chance to further fine-tune the Laurel suspension.
Sort of try and stiffen it up, and obviously, yeah, out there today it took me a little bit to get there, but got there in the end. Still learning.
I'm Michael, this is my 1978 Toyota Corolla K30 with a 3 GTE in it out of the 2002 Caldina station wagons. It's actually a totally stock standard motor, just with a bolt-on turbo intercooler ECU. They come out four-wheel drive, so it's all been changed to rear-wheel drive with a super box in it, Hilux diff, and yeah, it's pumping out just over 300 kilowatts in the wheels. And it pretty much drives itself, really. You just got to feed it the fat, and yeah, it's mint. Cressida front struts with custom coilovers made on them, Woolwood brakes all round. The rear end, it's custom-made 5-link with QA1 coilovers, which makes it handle actually reasonably well. I've taken a few people for rides and they're surprised in how well it handles. Yeah, I think that made all the difference, ditching the leaf springs. At the end of the day, it's just a fun car, never going to be competitive. I've always liked my older cars, chrome bumpers, metal panels. If you hit a tyre, your body doesn't blow to bits, it just bends and you pull it back out. I like the challenge. It's fun, and I probably enjoy the thrill of taking people for rides that don't get to go in drift cars very often and watching them freak out a bit. But yeah, it's all about the thrill, I suppose.
Armstrong here. I drive the G35 Skyline. Last year we ran the Dodge NASCAR. It was a weapon of a thing, but our knowledge on the old school V8 is not quite up there, and yeah, we had a few issues with it, with oil surge, different teething problems, and yeah, being in New Zealand, we don't quite have the budgets to run these big awesome motors, so we're going back to what we know, which is the RB3026, what I've run for pretty much my whole time I've been drifting here. Very stoked to be back, hopefully behind the seat today, and have a good bit of testing, and everything should go hopefully well.
And although the RB family of engines are nothing new to Cole, having served plenty of track time in his R34 Skyline, the move away from the big NASCAR spec Mopar V8 makes the G35 into a different animal.
Hey, the 34 is good, but just working with Shane Van Gisbergen and his dad is so onto it, suspension, and we've noticed that, you know, a couple of tweaks in this, I can feel the car change so dramatically, which is a good thing, because, you know, at different tracks you have so many different settings that you change, where you want a lot more drive or you want a lot more side bite. So being able to adjust that and have that change is a big thing for us, for where we've got so many competitive guys out there now that we need to have every little edge that we can to make ourselves that next step ahead, or, you know, be with the pack. So that's why we have gone to the G35, and hopefully today we'll see how it goes out there. As I say, I haven't driven it with this turbo package, so should be a good bit of fun. Lay it down.
out for more events from the Zero Class Drift crew over summer. Still to come on this episode of NAC Car Culture, we visit Horsepower Heroes C&M Performance. Welcome back to NAC Car Culture, your home of tough muscle cars, classic cruisers and high-performance imports. Right, thanks to the team at Teng Tools, it's time to head for Auckland's East Tamaki to drop in at C&M Performance.
Tuning-wise, yeah, our dyno will handle 2,000 horsepower pretty much at the wheels. We've had a vehicle on there that made 1925, so that's pretty close to its max. But yeah, we do a lot of that, and just all the other things that go with performance vehicles, I suppose. You know, gone are the days where your big horsepower cars made like a, you know, 400 or 500 horsepower. There's cars out there making, you know, well over 1,000 horsepower at the rear wheels on a regular basis now, you know, and they're doing it easy, you know, with the likes of LS motors and turbos and EFI, you know. You've still got to build a good motor, and it's got to be built right, you know. You can make 1,000 horsepower once, but you want to be able to repeat that and do it more than once, you know. So that's where your reliability comes into it.
The team at C&M can handle a range of tasks, from custom wiring to fabrication and a fair bit in between. This Camaro was being fitted out with a cage, while its younger brother was breathing easier thanks to a new exhaust. However, what they've also become very well known for is tuning. The dyno takes the guesswork out of the equation and leaves Carl to focus on bringing out the best in the engine, both in terms of performance and manners. Dyno tuning is the final stage where the power plant becomes more than just the sum of its parts, and is an area that has come into its own with engine technology advancements over the years.
With EFI and stuff, you can have your cake and eat it too, basically. You know, you can have a big angry cam and it can sit there at the idles, and then it can just drive off nice and smooth if you know, if you've got it tuned right, basically. Even carburetors, for that matter, have come a long way since, you know, in the last 10 years, for example. You know, what you buy for your money now is a huge difference compared to your basic old, you know, budget Holly that you had. If you wanted something flash 10, 15 years ago, you paid like $3,000 or $4,000 for a good carburetor. Now that same carburetor can come to you for probably, you know, under $1,000, you know. Something we do that we enjoy doing is we will convert a old style mechanical fuel injection system to EFI. We'll machine in some bosses and put like an injector in there and use the factory jetting area for an air bleed to control it. That's one we're doing for a big block at the moment. It's an old Kinsler style of deal. It's going on like a period correct Corvette. That's a circuit, like a central muscle car type car. The old mechanical injection becomes quite hard to get spot on. They always used to work at high RPM because it's basically just like holding a hose, spraying it down there. With the EFI side of it, you can control the injector and get a nice idle to it, and it can drive around the pits nice, you know, and then still give it to it upstairs.
Getting drivability out of big horsepower cars is something that C&M Performance have become the go-to guys for. Several of our feature cars have done just that. When you're packing horsepower numbers heading towards 4 digits or more on the street, navigating your way around normal driving conditions becomes more of a challenge.
Combination is very important, and people, yeah, you get the guides that'll go through and they'll buy everything off the internet, I guess, or, you know, they figure every time they add something to it, it's, you know, oh, that's 50, that's 100 horsepower, and all of a sudden they're at 1,000. It's not that simple. Getting the combination right, you know, your compression ratio, the cam, what you want it to do, they're all very important parts of a combination, and reliability. The best way is, you know, you start with a clean piece of paper, you write down what you want that car to do, and then you build it to suit that. and don't deviate from your plan. Basically, you get a good result, and you're happy with the result usually. You know.
You don't need a business card in this game. You only need to check out the C&M Performance car park.
It's someone's pride and joy, you know, and we've been entrusted with that task of looking after it, and we do our damnedest to do that, you know. But yeah, you know, I enjoy coming to work every day, yeah.
That's about us for another episode of NAC Car Culture. Coming up next week, Bay Rodders bring back the Street Carner for the NZHRA Street Rod Nationals. We get up close and personal with Dainham Templeman's freshly built 2JZ powered drift-ready BMW. And it's Supercharger 101 at Al's Blowers. See you then. NAC Car Culture was brought to you by NAC Insurance, 10 Tools, and Mount Shop. Thanks, team.